I be like, sheesh, sunset on the beach. Make me wanna pull up from Miami with the heat. I don't know about you.
Welcome back to week 3 of the NFL season. This is the Anytime Sports Podcast. I'm Colin. We're here with my other co-host, Andrew. Why don't you say something and lead us off?
Yes, absolutely. So glad to be back. Football is back. We're back. And what also is back is week 3 recaps. This week, we're going to do something a little different. We're going to give you guys some more highlights. We're going to we noticed last week's episode was a little dragged on. So this week, we're going to only highlight the games that we feel are most important. We're going to go in depth on those games. All right, up first, we're going to cover New Orleans versus Dallas. Colin,
week 2 matchup in this one. Saints really pulled away from this one. It was pretty much really early. New Orleans put up 14 points in the first. Dallas put up 3. It felt like New Orleans was driving on every single play and scoring, and that's what the stats show you. I can't believe they're saying this, but in the year 2024, Derek Carr has led a scoring drive on every single possession as the New Orleans Saints in this new offense. What are your thoughts on the Saints? Are they legit after beating the Dallas Cowboys, or are they just another team that's going to falter off?
I would say they're legit. Looking after their week 1 matchup, a lot of people, even including myself, after they blew out Carolina, were like, okay, it's Carolina. They're not legit. But after seeing them blow out Dallas, and Dallas by a good margin, 44-19, I think they could be back. I'm pretty sure everybody counted them out this year. At least I did. Alvin Kamara rushed for a career high, 115. I believe he had 3 touchdowns.
Alvin Kamara had a Christmas Day type game in this one, dominating this one. I'll list off his rushing. He had 20 carries, 115 yards. He averaged 5.8 yards a carry, 3 touchdowns and a long of 15 yards. He also caught 2 balls for 65 yards and a touchdown. He dominated this game. Can he keep up his performance like this? Because it seems like he's going in the end zone every time they're in the red zone, Andrew.
Yeah. Alvin Kamara, huge asset for the Saints team. Also, you can't count out Chris Olave and count out Rashid Shaheed, because Rashid Shaheed really showed out too. He was we said him in our fantasy sleeper picks last week, and if you picked him up, then you got blessed with those points. But
I completely forgot. We did say that. Rashid Shaheed, he's always been a boomer bust guy in his career. He really hasn't had consistent weeks. 2 weeks back-to-back, really good weeks. He hasn't had much volume, but he's been very efficient with what he's gotten. He's clearly the deep threat in this offense. Chris Olave does not seem like he's the guy, the deep threat in this offense. And it's a little worrisome that the Chris Olave has not gotten the kind of usage we thought he would get during the season. Obviously, it's very early in the season. They only had to throw the ball 16 times today. Well, not today, this Sunday. So, they look pretty dang good. They look like they're legit. We'll see in their next week's matchup. They got another really hard one against the Eagles, who are not a team that's going to go down easy, as we'll talk about their past Monday night performance on how they almost won that game. But if you're the Cowboys, where do you go from here? This was your home opener. You were expected to win this one handedly. They go in and they end up losing by over 20 points. How do you kind of decipher this Cowboys loss, and how can they get back? Because I know the NFC East, they're going to be fine up there with the Eagles. They're very lucky the Eagles didn't win this past week as well. But what do you think about this Dallas team? Are they a team that could push towards a playoff push like they've been hoping to do, or are they just going to choke off in the playoffs like they always do?
Well, we know the past of the Cowboys, and we know how they have choked in the playoffs. But at the same time, they have such a good team. The only spot on that team that makes me not believe they'll be a playoff team is their running back room. They're going from Tony Pollard back to an aging Ezekiel Elliott. They got a huge
battle.
Yeah, they got a huge. They got a huge.
He led the team in rushing.
Yeah.
This week.
They got a huge test this week with the Ravens. They have another home game, so they can get redemption potentially at home. But yeah, Dowdle only 7 carries for 30 yards, and then Zeke 6 carries for 16 yards. That rushing game was not on point. CeeDee Lamb had 4 receptions for 90 yards and a touchdown. Dak's going to need to throw the ball better. You're going to need to rush better, because the Saints, I mean, they're a good team like we've been saying, but if you're getting blown out 44-19 to the Saints, imagine what will happen once they get to the playoffs and they play a team like the Lions. If the Lions keep it going, or the Niners get back CMC, or even next week when they're playing Baltimore. And I'm looking at their schedule. In the next 5 weeks, they have 3 huge matchups: Baltimore, Detroit, San Francisco. And even Pittsburgh's on a roll now. So who if they're actual contenders, then they could beat the Cowboys too. So they got a tough schedule coming up, and we'll really get to see what they're made of.
I do have a tough schedule with this team. It just doesn't look like, to me, they don't have a good run offense, like you said, exactly. And I don't think Dak throwing the ball. I think he threw the ball. He threw the ball 39 times actually. 42 times they threw the ball total in the Dallas passing offense this past weekend. But I'm really concerned. They only have CeeDee Lamb out there. They had Jalen Tolbert caught 6 balls for 82 yards, but it was also in a high throwing. They're also playing from behind very much. This Dallas defense did get burned by the New Orleans Saints. Not uncharacteristic of this defense. Hopefully it's not. Hopefully it's just a fluke game for them. They didn't have to. I mean, it's not. Yeah. This is not like Dallas this early. Usually they get off to a good start. But this might be New Orleans just being legit. We don't know. It's too early in the season to really tell that. But it definitely was worrisome in this. But if you're a Cowboys fan, you can't be really, really worried because it's still a good team. They'll bounce back. They play. Who do they play next week? They play the Ravens.
Yeah.
And the Ravens have not looked good at all. We'll talk about that when we get to Ravens in this one. But yeah, I wouldn't worry too much if I'm a Cowboys fan. But this just might be the Saints being legit. Let's move on to another game. A divisional round rematch between the Tampa Bay Buccaneers and the Detroit Lions in this one. This one was at Ford Field. Tampa Bay ends up winning this one 20-16, but the real story was the Detroit Lions offense has not gotten going in this past 2 weeks. What do you think the reason is? They got a lot of the guys back, got their offensive coordinator back. He hasn't left. So why do you think they're struggling out the gate right now? Jared Goff was 34-55 for 307. He had 2 interceptions, no touchdown passes in this one. Why do you think he was struggling in this one?
I think the main reason they are struggling is those interceptions. This game was 20-16. If you march down the field and get those points, you easily win this game. We know the running game here is good. Carries were about evenly split. Gibbs had 13 carries for 84 yards. With a long of 24, and then Montgomery had 11 carries for 35 yards. So they're splitting rushing yards evenly, and even for receiving, Amon-Ra had himself a game, 11 receptions for 119 yards. But the thing is, just not finishing.
Here's a question.
Yeah.
You haven't seen much of Sam Laporta in this offense. We
Yeah.
saw a lot of him last year. Do you think that could be part of the problem on why this team isn't working as efficiently as it should? We saw the emergence of James Williams the past 2 weeks. He's been a very good pass catcher, but how can you get Sam Laporta more involved in this offense? Because we know he's too talented to just not produce at all, and he has not produced in fantasy. I know because I have him, and he has not produced in physically on the field. He's been more of a blocking tight end. How can you get Sam Laporta involved?
Yeah, absolutely. I think that's sort of Jared Goff's responsibility, being able to rely on your check down, being able to rely on your guy if he's there, get those small yards instead of going for the long ball. But back to what I was saying, I think the really big reason this team isn't capping off wins is because they aren't scoring touchdowns. You need to score touchdowns to win ball games. It's that simple. But as for kicking, Jake Bates was 3 for 3, so all those drives you could have easily scored and got yourself the lead in the game. Looking at the box score, they did score 10 points in the third, and then the fourth they scored nothing, and that's huge if you can't score in the fourth. But they did look like they were getting their momentum going, but they're only scoring 6 points before the half. If you're gonna be a high caliber team and be identified as one, you need to score like one.
And let's give the defenses their credit, because both defenses came out to play today. Aiden Hutchinson, amazing 4.5 sacks on the game. He was an absolute monster. 4 tackle for losses, 5 QB hits. He was absolutely amazing in this one, trying to will Detroit to a victory. But, man, Baker Mayfield, 2-0. He's had these gritty type victories. He's leading teams. We've seen him on his third team, I think. No, he was in Cleveland. He was in the Rams.
Yeah.
He was in Carolina. This is his 4th team. So we've seen him now kind of And it's the story of this year. Sam Darnold getting a fresh start. We had Geno Smith, who's resurrected his career in the past couple of years. We've had I mentioned Sam Darnold, Baker Mayfield. I'm forgetting Gardner Minshew
Yeah.
resurrect his career as much in that aspect. Is what my question is: do you think Baker Mayfield can lead this team on a deeper run? How this team is built. They got Mike Evans. They got Chris Godwin. They got maybe Bucky Irving. Irving looks like a good running back. They still got Rashad White on this team. Can they make a deep run in the NFC? Are we sold on the Tampa Bay Buccaneers? Because when you look at the New Orleans Saints and the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, I don't think you could say which one's completely better than the other. Obviously, New Orleans has looked unstoppable on offense, but I expect that to come down because I really don't think teams. Some defenses will find something on them, so I think they'll come back to earth soon. But which team's better at this point? If you're trying to pick an NFC South team right now, that's the best. Who are you picking?
As of these past couple weeks and based on how their defense has played, I think I would pick the Saints. Derek Carr is a veteran quarterback, but he's playing like he didn't have a rough patch these last couple of years. He's playing like he used to. He's playing like 2016 Derek Carr. As for Baker Mayfield, he's proven why he was a first overall pick in 2018. I mean, he didn't play like that when he was with Cleveland, and then he played like that not really in Carolina, but then he resurrected his career with the Rams, and he gets a second chance with the Bucks. I think that's what you need as a quarterback. You need a team around you. You need a team that could help you. And really, I would go either way, really, with the Bucks or Saints. But I would take the Saints by a slim margin. Once these teams play later in the season, it'll be really interesting to see because
It'll be a very good game. Probably be a game of the week. Dennis Allen has done a great job with this New Orleans Saints team. And also, I mean, Tampa Bay is very good. It'll be very interesting to watch, as you said. I do think New Orleans right now has the edge because of their crazy points for. They've scored 91 points for to only 29 points against. Tampa Bay only has 57 points for to 36 points against. But of course, Tampa Bay, they played the Lions, a pretty decent squad, but also the Saints played the Cowboys as well. That were very good. Let's move into another game. Let's go to an upset of the week. The Las Vegas Raiders. I believe you called it. The Vegas Raiders were gonna win this. No, I think one of us called it.
I think it was you. You probably called it.
I think I called it.
One of the two.
But the Raiders seem legit. Their defense seems very good. They're led by Gardner Minshew, who had a pretty decent day. He didn't lose them the game. He ended up winning this one 26-23. Is this more the Raiders being legit, or is this a little bit scary if you're a Baltimore Ravens fan because you're off to an 0-2 start, and it really doesn't look like they're as good as they've used to?
Yeah. Here, I think it's looking good if you're a Raiders fan because you have Gardner Minshew. He threw 30 for 38, 276 yards, which is huge. Getting that out of your guy. I mean, Minshew's been in the league for a while, but getting him and proving that he can still ball out. He did throw an interception. The only thing that concerns me about this Raiders team is their rushing room. They got Zamir White, but going from what you had last year to this year with Josh Jacobs, and that could be a big struggle. But Devontae had an amazing catch in this game. I don't know if you saw, he snagged it, and he was about like a foot from the sideline. He's like fully extended. Great grab by him.
Yeah, I saw that one.
He'll single-handedly be the reason if the Raiders are good this year. It'll be the Minshew to
How about rookie Brock Bowers, the
too.
tight end?
Yeah,
he had a great game. 9
did.
receptions, 98 yards off of 9 targets. How do you see his role kind of expand during this offense that's just starting to shape together? They got guys like Jacoby Myers, Brock Bowers himself, Devontae Adams. They're going to still try to give the ball to Zamir White for some reason. But how do you feel like his role is fitting in with this Raiders team?
Yeah, I think what he kind of reminds me of is a young Darren Waller. Like when Darren Waller was first in this league with Derek Carr and the Raiders, he balled out. He was a young stud. And as same for Brock Bowers. He's with a veteran quarterback. He's got veteran receivers around him. He's got veteran tight ends around him. And then he's a rookie, so he's got longevity in this league. He's already got almost 100. He almost put up 100 yards on this week. He can be a very big fantasy steal for those that drafted him. Depending on how much receptions he gets. I want to ask you a question. I want to say, what do you think about the Ravens? What does this mean for the Ravens that they're 0-2 to start the season?
First of all, I want to say you're talking about the rapper, the
Darren Waller.
the rapper Darren Waller. Or are we talking about the football player Darren?
The
Waller?
rapper Darren Waller.
Several people here. Yeah, I mean the Ravens. If I'm a Ravens fan, I'm kind of concerned. I mean, I'm not as concerned as if you're a Bears fan or if you're a Panthers fan, but I am kind of concerned. I mean, Lamar didn't look amazing in this one. You pay him all that money. He's one of the best QBs. You expect him to single-handedly win you a game. Derrick Henry not giving you the amount of dominance he used to give you. He had a majority of the carries this game were dominated by him, but he's not much of a pass back. So every time he's on the field, you think they're going to run the ball, and the Vegas defense was able to stop the run in this one, stop Derrick Henry. He got a touchdown in this one, but it was only 84 yards off of 18 carries. So I think you call that a win if you're the Raiders in this one. I just think they need to do the little. It sounds so weird, but they need to do the little things right, and I don't think they've done that the past few weeks. These small mistakes here or there can cost you in a game. This game they were supposed to win handedly, and they didn't end up winning him handedly. I know I think Kyle Hamilton is questionable heading into this week.
Yeah, we'll get into full injury report later because
with a back. Yeah. But that would be a huge blow if he cannot play. But yeah, if I'm a Baltimore Ravens fan, I'm kind of a little bit concerned in this one. But you know, I did end up skipping a game. Let's go to another upset. This one in the NFC, the Minnesota Vikings and Sam Darnold ends up winning this one against the San Francisco 49ers. I guess I'll start off with this one. Sam Darnold looked very, very good in this one. He did connect with that amazing 90-something yard throw and catch to Justin Jefferson, who we will talk about later in the injury report, as Justin Jefferson had a good game with 4 receptions, 133 yards, and a touchdown, doing his best Megatron impression with those stats right there, or Randy Moss. But Brock Purdy didn't look the best in this one. I'm interested into hearing your thoughts on how Brock Purdy played in this one, because I don't think he looked that great. The stats looked like he padded it, but they were down through the whole game basically, and they end up losing this one in a game people thought they should have probably won. Jordan Mason had 100 yards on the ground, but you feel like he should have had more.
Yeah.
What are your thoughts about this one?
Yeah. Brock Purdy, 319 yards. Jordan Mason filled the spot for CMC, which he will be for a little bit, considering he's on the IR. But this is a game the Niners really should have won. This is also a defensive game they should have won. They put up 4 sacks, but the Vikings also put up 6. So that line, Vikings have one of the better lines in the league, but the fact that they're getting stuffed up by the Vikings, everybody this season, at least me, counting out the Vikings, but Sam Darnold, maybe he resurrected his career. A lot of these quarterbacks this year are coming back, like Colin was saying earlier. But, like you said, Justin Jefferson with that Randy Moss stat line. I think this Vikings team could very well win the division, especially with Jordan Love being banged up. I mean, I'm sure he'll be back later in the season. The Bears not really knowing what's going on with Caleb Williams, and then the Lions struggling against the Bucs. So this division just got a whole lot more serious now with the Vikings being 2-0, and then next week pushing into Houston. They could very well prove themselves as an established team.
Yeah, I definitely think so. I think we do need to pump the brakes a little bit on Minnesota. Let's see how Sam Darnold does halfway through this season. Yeah. I think they've gotten off to a good start right now, and especially when Jordan Love is not playing as for the next couple of weeks, we assume. Chicago not looking good, Detroit not looking good. You want to get a couple games ahead of your division. They're already one game ahead of the division right now. They're leading the North right now. But of course, you want to get a couple more games, get that cushion in case you just aren't the best. But yeah,
Yeah.
we'll head into the next game while you fix your camera there.
Yep.
I'll start off with this one. Kyler Murray balls out in this one, winning the Cardinals beating the Rams 41-10 in a game that really wasn't close at all. LA dealing with some injuries. I'll start off with the bad. Matthew Stafford was down in this game. The Rams injured. They can't stop the run. Missing Aaron Donald a ton. Did not play very well in this game. Kyron Williams couldn't get anything going. Blake Corum, they had 8 carries for 28 yards. He couldn't get anything going. The receiving, you had Cooper Kupp exit the game. He didn't have a great game because of his injury. But on the flip side, Marvin Harrison Jr. in this one, absolutely insane. When there was question marks on why they didn't give him the ball in week 1, they went out immediately to him, and he ended up with 4 receptions, 130 yards, and 2 TDs. Do I think he's going to get that every single week? Not really, but I think they made it a point to give him the ball. I don't know if you disagree, but I think there's a lot of weapons on this team that I think make them very interesting. And they were very competitive against the Bills last week and when they ended up losing that one. But what are your thoughts on this Arizona team, and what are your thoughts on the Rams as well?
Yeah, I would agree with you. I think Marvin Harrison Jr., if kind of like I was saying earlier, but if the Arizona is a contender this year, it's gonna be because of Marvin Harrison Jr. They also have Trey McBride, which he had 6 receptions for 67 yards himself. Kyler Murray, this past couple of years, he's been spotty. This game, he looked great. 17 for 21, 266 yards, and 3 touchdowns. I remember, I think it was 21, the Cardinals started off 9-0. But ever since D-Hop really left, that's what Arizona was lacking, was that strong.
He looked very comfortable in this one. It really seemed like he was more mature as a quarterback, where we haven't seen that in the past. And he looked very comfortable in this offensive scheme that got him a bunch of weapons. He's spreading out the ball a lot. Like we said, Marvin Harrison had a good game this past week, but it could go to another guy next week. Michael Wilson's another very talented wide receiver they got there. Greg Dortch has been catching some balls out in Arizona. A lot to be excited about. James Conner's going to give you James Conner type numbers. He's always been very, very dominant, but he did draft a rookie in Trey Benson. We may see him later in the season if some injuries arise. But this team is very talented. Kyler Murray's looking very good. But what about this Rams team? Very interesting with this team. They're very injured. What are your thoughts on the Rams? Are they going to be fine, or is this very worrisome?
Yeah. I think as a Rams fan right now, you start to worry. I mean, you haven't had a home game yet, but considering Puka Nakua's on the IR, Cooper Kupp's banged up again as he was last year. This is very concerning, considering you can't get the ball rolling in this game, even in a game where Cooper Kupp is here. So now imagine that your number 1 receiver is DeMarcus Robinson or Tutu Atwell. The Rams are going to be struggling. They got Kyron Williams, but
it doesn't get any easier next week. They're playing the 49ers.
Yeah.
I mean, that's not a team after the 49ers losing last week. They're gonna be hungry in this one. They're gonna want to run the ball down Los Angeles' throat, and I think they'll do that successfully because this defensive line needs somebody to stop the run. They weren't able to stop the run, and they might have to wait till week 4 to get their first win. They're playing the Bears in week 4.
Yeah.
So we could be talking about an 0-3 Los Angeles Rams team, which would completely shake up the division. Because you have Seattle leading the division right now, Arizona in second place in 1-1, San Francisco 1-1. If they start the season 0-3, I assume the season's over for and the Rams.
Yeah, considering
is that a fair assumption?
Yeah, considering you have those 3 great teams, because I mean Seahawks, they've been playing great these first 2 weeks, but they'll have some tough games coming up. But as for the Cardinals, they're with MHJ, they're looking legit too. And then you put, like you said, you put the Rams would be stuck at the bottom. But like you said, 0-3 is hard to come back from, especially if you start low, and then you have the Niners in there as well. It's going to be hard to catch up, especially if these teams start to gain traction. If the Niners get CMC back, then you're going to have to hurry up. So It's going to be very tough for them in the coming weeks.
All right, let's move to our primetime games. Let's start off with Sunday Night Football. The Texans end up winning this one 19-13. Though they struggled against the Bears defense, they end up edging out this win. What are your thoughts on the Texans? What are your thoughts on the Chicago Bears?
Yeah, C.J. Stroud balled out here. I mean, he was 23 for 36, but he had some beautiful passes. Me as a Bears fan was making me a little upset seeing him do so great. As for Caleb Williams, he had a better week than last week. He threw for 174 yards, but the big thing here is the 2 interceptions. And another thing, Chicago was not able to rush over the Houston defense. Caleb Williams had 5 carries for 44 yards. He kind of used his legs here a little bit. But he was your rushing leader in the game. Your running back, DeAndre Swift, 14 carries for 18 yards. That's not what you want to see. But this next week for the Bears might look a little brighter. They're facing the Colts, and the Colts have the worst run defense in the league. Plus, losing to Forrest Buckner, maybe they can get their stuff back on track. But
that feels like a must-win game for both teams.
Yeah.
I mean, it could have huge implication on who's going to get fired at the end of this season. Both teams not looking great. Anthony Richardson showing flashes. Can we see some consistency there? That is a huge game for the Bears. Huge game for the Colts. And resident Bears lover Scooby here says the Bears offense needs to get going.
Yeah, I agree, Scooby.
They do need to get going.
Scooby knows what's up. Like you were saying, this is going to be a very big week. I actually wanted to go to that game, but it was like $150 for nosebleeds.
I looked at the tickets prices and it was insane.
It was like, not happening.
Pay for it.
But this is, like you said, this is a must-win game for both teams. Considering the Colts have been struggling, they have injuries. The Bears have been struggling. They'll probably be without Keenan Allen this week. But I think this game is very winnable for both teams. It just depends who wants to play football that day, basically.
It's a little frustrating when talking about the Bears in this aspect. They can't block their offensive scheme. They haven't been able to run the ball at all. Offensive line going through some hiccups. Caleb Williams not looking very good at all. Has some accuracy issues, if we're going to be honest here. Did not look very good. 2 interceptions were on plays where he's trying to make a play. I'm not going to fault him much on that one. He's trying to make a play there. He's very young. We forget that Peyton Manning led the league his rookie year in interceptions.
Yeah.
These players take some time. So I was very pissed after the game. Didn't talk to C.J. Stroud, which is it's a cheap move. If I'm going to say it, it's kind of a cheap move. C.J. Stroud was in your position last year. If we all remember, C.J. Stroud didn't get off to the hottest start. His first couple of starts in the league, and at the end of the season, he ended up playing very, very well. But he didn't play very good. Trying to help out Caleb Williams, and Caleb Williams just shrugging him off like it is what it is. A little immaturity there from a talented quarterback, but still, it's frustrating. And you got to get a win if you're Chicago. You got to get the offense going at least to believe that they can start winning, because they got one of the best defenses in the league right now, and it's stuck behind a piss-poor offense. They need to get something going. DJ Moore very frustrated, very animated on the sideline during each play. I mean, he's very frustrated. He's not getting any younger, and he doesn't have a guy that could throw him the ball and lead this offense. Right now, Caleb's in the developing phase. I'm sure he'll end up being a decent starting quarterback, but he's having some hiccups. Of course, it's your second ever NFL game. You're going to have some hiccups, especially against this Houston defense who looks very, very good. And we'll talk about them in a second. But the Bears, definitely not looking very, very good right now. Concern for Joe Mixon if he's left this game with an injury. We'll talk about that in a little bit. Nico Collins looking very good with 8 receptions, 135 yards and a touchdown. If I do remember, Tank Dell I don't think did much in this game, and he hasn't done.
No, he didn't. He had He had 1 reception for -3 yards and then 3 carries for 16 yards. So. Yeah,
he's done nothing so far this season. It's been major Diggs and Collins mainly getting those receptions. Do you think Tank Dell's a one-hit wonder from last year, or do you think he's needs to feel it out during this season, and they're going to get it to him.
Yeah, I think the huge reason for me, my big reason is Diggs. Diggs is in here now. Tank Dell isn't wide receiver 2. Diggs is in the system now, and Nico Collins is bumped down, and then that dicks amount of receptions. But it's also just week 3, and I think this Texans team is going to find ways to get their guys involved regardless. They're going to find ways to win games in different ways once they get to more difficult games. But yeah, let's move on to the next game. I think we covered that. We're going to cover the Monday Night Football game.
All right, the Atlanta Falcons winning this one in a game-winning drive by Kirk Cousins, looking back to old Kirk Cousins form. Actually, not old Kirk Cousins form. This is a new Kirk Cousins. He wins in prime time. He wins these big games.
Yeah.
We're seeing an Atlanta Falcons team that's going to go to the Super Bowl and beat the Chiefs.
Maybe we will. Maybe
Is that an overreaction?
Maybe we'll see another 28-3.
We'll see it next week. They're playing the Chiefs. If they beat the Chiefs,
Chiefs in prime time.
Watch out.
Yeah, Kirk Cousins really has struggled in week 1. People are like, oh, okay, are they going to bring in Penix, or what are they going to do here? Kirk Cousins, 20 for 29, had 241 yards, and the leading receiver here was none other than Bears legend Darnell Mooney. 3 receptions, 88 yards, and a touchdown. Bijan Robinson, 14 carries for 97 yards. This is the type of production you want to see if you're a Falcons fan. You want to see Kirk Cousins cooking. You want to see getting your receivers involved. I mean, could have involved Kyle Pitts a little more, could have involved Drake London a little more, but seeing this production out of your team after what you saw week 1 is huge.
Seeing Drake London ended up with that touchdown grab at the end was very sweet for him. He's had some troubles getting up and going in his early stages of his career, having inconsistent quarterback play. Kirk Cousins, they were doing decent during the game. Not really, honestly, the offense until that final drive that finally clicked, getting stuff going. And, yeah, they clicked very much. It seems like, Andrew, I don't know if to you, but it seems like Bijan Robinson's going to end up with the season with 1,900 yards rushing and 0 touchdowns. Because it doesn't look like he's going to get any touchdowns this year. Really, I don't know what it is, allergic to the end zone. But he gets 97 yards in this one where it's rushing. And I know he gets some receiving as well. He had 4 receptions for 25 yards. Seems like he's allergic to the end zone, though, and he's going to be like a 1,900-yard rusher. Yeah. I almost guarantee that. I saw that meme today. I thought it was hilarious. But what are your thoughts about Saquon Barkley dropping that ball to even allow this drive to happen? Yeah. He catches that ball. They kill the clock. Eagles win this one. Is this more of a coaching call, or is this a player just not making a play?
I think this is more of a team thing. I mean, if you're the Eagles and you're at the caliber that you've been for as long as you've been, these past couple of years, you don't want the game to come down to the final drive. You can't let the game come down to the final drive. These games need to be won by more. Your game can't be relying off of one missed catch. I mean, it can, but at the same time, if you're the Eagles and you're this high of a caliber of a team, you need to be winning games by more than just a touchdown's worth.
Yeah, I mean, I agree with that one, but I am going to take the other side in this one. I'm going to say it's more of and I think Scooby was too. He's whining a little. But I'm taking the fact that it should have been a player. The player should have made the play. I mean, Saquon, that is a routine catch. You are a pro like that. You should be able to catch it. And I know he's kicking himself saying, dang, I cost my team this one. But I'll get him back next week, and he always does get him back next week. He's an elite rusher in this league. He'll get it back, but it's very disappointing. Devontae Smith had a great game with A.J. Brown out. Of course, he had 7 receptions, 76 yards, and a touchdown. It seems when A.J. Brown's out, the man performs a lot because he gets most of the targets, most of the receptions out there. Dallas Goedert had 3 grabs for 38 yards. Surprised to not to see him more. But, of course, you got to get the ball to Saquon, got to get the ball to Devontae Smith, the 2 guys that are non-negotiable. I think the Eagles will do better next week. But, Atlanta, they get a big win here. This is a good win for the locker room, for the chemistry as well. And, I think we're done covering all the games from week 2 recap. And then Let's head into the injury report because we've had so many injuries this week. A lot of big names going down. Andrew, what are some of the major injuries that happened during week 2, and how can we expect these injuries to affect all these teams going forward?
Yeah, this is really not something you want to see as in the NFL. Yeah, like last year, I feel like recently all these injuries just keep piling and piling and piling up. I'm not sure what that has to do, if that's with field conditions, if it's I don't know, players are more fragile. But there's a few big names out here. There's Joe Mixon. He's questionable. He got injured during last game. I think it was a hip drop tackle. They didn't call in game, but they were gonna fine.
It looks like he's going to avoid major injuries, but
Yeah.
it definitely could have some lingering issues that could lead to a bigger injury later on in the season. As we said, Keenan Allen was out and he never played in week 2. T. Higgins dealing with his injury as well, nagging injury. It is a hamstring. He was limited to practice today. David Njoku, tight end for the Cleveland Browns, he was questionable. He didn't end up playing last week. But if we're going to guys who got hurt off of this past week, I think you kind of gotta go with the big names. Justin Jefferson is a guy that's a huge injury. Guys like Isaiah Pacheco. How do you think they're going to replace? I know they signed Kareem Hunt
Yeah.
yesterday. Clyde Edwards-Helaire is out, but it looks like he might come back in a couple, maybe a week or two.
Yeah.
They got Carson Steele, they got Samaje Perine, they got Kareem Hunt, and they'll get Clyde Edwards-Helaire back. You think this is just a big running back by committee group, or is there going to be a guy that we say he's going to get like 15 to 20 carries a game?
Yeah, as a team with the Chiefs with as limited weapons as you have, like you said, you can't manage another injury. But yeah, like I mean, the Chiefs always find a way to make it work. So really, that's going to be the big story coming up.
It's going to be a running back
Yeah.
by committee. I think Carson Steele is going to get more of the red zone kind of carries in the first and second down carries. I think they'll get Samaje Perine in the third down pass catching back row. I think Samaje Perine is going to have a little more of a factor there. I think they brought Kareem Hunt in there for injury assurance. He is, of course, older, and he has some history with Andy Reid, so he's not completely disengaged from this offense. But this offense is a lot different from when he was there, so it's going to take him a little time to get things going. I think it'll be a running back by committee there. I expect Kansas City to throw the ball more when they kind of wanted to run the ball with Pacheco, but Pacheco's going to be out for 6 to 8 weeks. Let's go to another team who lost a big player. Let's go to Miami Dolphins, where they lost to Tunga Vailoa. He is on the IR. He's not going to be available for at least 4 weeks. We were expecting this. He was on IR. They roll with Skylar Thompson, I believe. Skylar Thompson.
Yeah.
Is he going to be enough to steal a couple of games from Miami? Because I think you're just hoping to win 2 out of the 4 games he's going to miss, kind of.
Yeah.
Is that what you're looking at, or do you think they need to sign a veteran guy? I've heard rumors going around that Ryan Tannehill might be the guy they go and call, but they're rocking with Skylar Thompson this week. What are your thoughts on Skylar Thompson? You think he's going to perform any good, or do you think they're going to need to look in a different direction?
Yeah, if you're Miami, considering that Tua is out and no one knows really how long he's going to be out, considering his past with concussions, I think you roll with Skylar Thompson for the first 1, maybe 2 weeks, and if he's looking a little shaky, then maybe after this week you say, hey, let's give Ryan Tannehill a reunion call to Miami. But at the same time, if Skylar Thompson's balling out, maybe save that money. Use your backup guy. And then if Tua's back after 4 weeks. But the thing is, if Tua's injuries go from 4 to 6 to 8 to the entire season, then you're going to need to sign a guy. Maybe if Skylar Thompson can't do it, you're going to sign a veteran guy that can lead your teams to win, like Ryan Tannehill.
Yeah, of course. I think you got to give him a shot to see what he can do. If he looks absolutely terrible this week, I think you got to go for a different avenue. But I think they got a lot of weapons to supplement for it. You know, you got Tyreek Hill. You're going to get him involved, get the touches to him. Jalen Waddle as well. You're going to run the ball with Devon Achane. Raheem Mostert is questionable too. He's been dealing with some injuries. Jeff Wilson just showed up on the injury report, so it should be a little interesting. Should be the Devon Achane show for them.
Yeah.
But going to Minnesota, I know we mentioned about Justin Jefferson. He was questionable, limited in participation in practice for the second day in a row. He says he's good to go, though. He's for sure plans to play against the Texans. But we'll see. They always say, yeah, we're going to play because of strategic reasons. But yeah, Justin Jefferson might play this week, and if he plays, that would be a very, very, very good thing.
I want to turn it to. I want to turn it to another team that has injuries. They were great last year. The San Francisco 49ers. You put Christian McCaffrey on the injury list during this
Nick
week.
Bosa questionable during
Yes.
this one. He was limited in Thursday's practice. This Thursday's practice schedule as of the 19th right now, as of filming right now, questionable, as you said. They've been dealing with quite a bit of injuries. How do you think that's going to affect them?
Yeah, really, we saw it this past week. Them losing to the Vikings. You're also dealing with Ricky Pearsall, your rookie. He got shot earlier in the season, so he's still recovering. Elijah Mitchell's on the IR. Then you got Dre Greenlaw on the IR. Then you got, obviously, Christian McCaffrey. Then you got George Kittle is questionable. Nick Bosa is questionable. Tre'Davious Ward is questionable. Deebo Samuel's doubtful. Injuries will kill a team. We saw the Niners, a Super Bowl team. They've been a high-caliber team these past 2 years. But you're not going to win games if you don't have your star players in. I mean, they can make it work.
Look at the Rams.
Yeah.
The Rams this season look terrible with all their injuries that they've had going. I know we've kind of mentioned a lot of the major injuries. We're not going to hit on all the major injuries. We're just going to continue to some more NFL news. Big news breaking out of Carolina this week. Bryce Young gets benched for the Red Rifle and Andy Dalton. What does this do to Bryce Young's career?
Yeah.
How does this help the Carolina Panthers win more games and kind of save this locker room?
Yeah, not only does this mess with Bryce Young's career, it messes with his mentality. If you've been a starter on the Panthers for 19, 20 games in a row, and then playing like the way you did, I get it on a point of the I get it on like a manager side, like, hey, we're not winning games, but you're not going to win games regardless. Who knows? Red Rifle's in. He always finds a way to win games. But Bryce Young in this, when they played the Chargers, he was 18 for 26, 84 yards and an interception. I keep seeing clips online of him jumping over the line to throw the ball. Some terrible incompletions. This might be a move by the Panthers. Let your guys sit maybe 4, 3, 5 weeks.
So you think he's gonna stay with Carolina? You think they're gonna? I've heard rumors of trading, and I think it would be best for them to part ways. I think we're a little bit different in that situation.
Yeah.
Bryce Young said it was talked to the media. He said it was not something that he was expecting. He told reporters in the locker room availability. He's like, obviously, it's not something that was great to hear. He did say, but I respect Dave Canales' and respect the organization, the decision they've made right now. That's the decision. That's it. I have to do everything I can to help the team and whatever I can do. And I think Bryce Young, as a human being, is a very good guy. And I think he's been put in a different situation that's not as good. He hasn't looked very athletic as he did in college. Doesn't look like he can keep up with the guys in the pros. But who knows? We could just see him go to another team and flourish like we've seen Sam Darnold to take years. We've seen Baker Mayfield. Geno Smith took all that time to become an NFL quarterback. Hopefully he gets traded somewhere. Would not be surprised if he goes somewhere like San Francisco. He goes somewhere, not really Minnesota. I don't think Minnesota would pick him up. But the Dolphins might be interesting if Tua's going to be out for a little bit. You think Mike McDaniels can do a little juice and rejuvenate his career? Because I think the Dolphins are a lot more talented than this Panthers team. Could they make a move for Bryce Young? Would you see it, and is that a viable option?
Yeah, it depends, because there's really two ways they can go. Like you were saying, someone could make a move. I think if there's going to be one team that's going to make a move, it's going to be Miami. None of these teams, I mean, Sam Darnold is a lock on Minnesota. I think Bryce Young, based on these quarterback injuries, specifically Miami, he would be a starter day one. Considering he'll have Tyreek, he'll have those guys that get open. But at the same time, there were some awful passes he made this week that aren't based on the play calling, that aren't based on the players around him. It's based on him as a player, and obviously him being benched is based on him playing bad as a player. This also goes down to Carolina. Think of the amount that you gave up to get this guy. You gave up Caleb Williams.
Draft capital.
You gave up Caleb Williams. You gave up Darnell Wright. You gave up Tyree Stevenson. All those draft picks, and you still owe the Bears a second-round draft pick this year for that. And you gave up DJ Moore.
And that's kind of questionable. Why would you bench him this early in his career? You gave up that's much draft capital, unless you were concerned about losing the locker room, which may be the big concern when you get a new coaching staff, brings in, things aren't meshing well. It just seems like they don't have the best owner in the NFL. Let's just be honest, his track record is not the best in the NFL so far. But now it seems like they're just a little bit dysfunctional. They need to get things going. Hopefully Bryce Young gets traded. That would be the best for his career. DJ Moore admitting to the media he shouldn't have let his frustrations be known to the Texans loss. He looked very disgruntled on the sideline. I know we talked about it a lot. But for DJ Moore, I kind of get his frustrations. Yeah. And he wanted to keep Fields, because he didn't want to start over with another quarterback. He's done that forever with Carolina. He's done that with the Bears now. For him, he's trying to win a Super Bowl, and I know I get it. It's frustrating for him. I don't know. I think we both on the same aspect. I think it's just frustrating for this Bears team right now.
Yeah.
On that. But let's head to another topic we wanted to hit. Talking about another former Bears quarterback and Justin Fields in the Pittsburgh Steelers. With this quarterback controversies a little bit heating up, I know Mike Tomlin said a guy was never going to lose his job due to injury, but how Justin Fields is playing right now, leading this team, they're not wowing people with their offense, but they're at least being competent. Do you see them ever going back to Russ? Or do you see them kind of just sticking with Fields? Because I know it's hard to tell a guy you just paid a lot of money to, and Russell Wilson, say, hey, we're just going to have you sit. It was very unfortunate you got injured during the preseason before the season started. It's very disappointed, but we're going to go with this guy. Or hey, Fields, we know you played very good, but we promised he wasn't going to lose his job due to injury. You could lose the locker room if you go to a decision back to Wilson and it doesn't work out.
Yeah.
Continue.
Yeah, exactly what you were saying. If you say, you did give up this money for Russell Wilson and you got Fields, you knew that when you were getting these two guys in there. Justin Fields started the last 3 years for the Bears. As for Russell Wilson, he's been in this league for a long time. You knew that when you were getting them that you're going to have to make tough decisions. As for Fields, he's 2-0. He's leading his team to wins. Not really scoring drives. We saw that first week they scored like 6 field goals and got the win. He's not capping off drives, but also at the same time,
they're winning games.
So they're winning games. That's all that matters. At the same time, what if like you were saying, what if you put Russell Wilson in? What if he doesn't do better? Like, oh, sorry, we benched you, Justin. Yeah. Sorry, we benched you, Justin. Oh, can you come in and win games for us again? That's a big back and forth the Steelers have to decide. And if Justin Fields is winning games, why take him out? Maybe if he starts struggling, then you get Russ in there. But really, it's a tough decision for the organization.
It is a very tough decision. I mean, you can't really fault him for going back to Russ, because Mike Tomlin's very honest with his word. He gets it. His word is he's a very, very honest guy. So it'd be hard for him to just say, hey, we're just going to go with Fields. But it's also a business in that aspect. Jobs are on the line. His job's on the line too. So you gotta do what's right for the best for the team. And I think Justin Fields starting out 2-0 is good. Is a good thing for him. Exactly. And I think we're kind of really done with the major news. I know there's a couple little tidbits here and there, but let's go into we're going to do a little bit different this week. We're not going to pick all the games, go through it. That took way too long. We're going to go with a segment we used to do a while ago. I don't think we ever debuted it on the show, but we've we've kind of done this as friends saying, okay, who are your two locks? Who are your two locks who you know are definitely going to win this game? And who is a steal? Who's going to steal a game away? Who is an underdog in this one? And who's going to steal a game? So I'm going to go with my first lock. I think the Bengals will dominate against the Commanders this week. I have them winning this week. Do you agree with me? Do you not agree with me? What are your thoughts?
I definitely... Yeah, I think you could say the Bengals are a lock because the Commanders are in shambles and have been in shambles for a while.
Yet the Bengals are 0-2.
They are 0-2, but they were heating up last week. They were so close.
Commanders got to win.
No.
Commanders got to win. Do you think?
No.
Do you think they're going to beat the Bengals?
No, I'm going to pick the Bengals with you.
Yeah, we're picking the Bengals. Andrew, why don't you give me one of your locks of the week?
Absolutely. Basing off what we said, very well. Prove me wrong, Red Rifle. But I think Vegas is going to take the win over Carolina.
There we go. Gardner Minshew.
They're going to take that momentum off of beating... they're going to take that momentum off the Ravens. Colin's got the Minshew jersey on. They're going to take the momentum off of beating the Ravens. They're going to keep it rolling. Brock Bowers is going to have a game. Gardner Minshew is going to have a game. The stash is going to come out. And Carolina...
I'm guessing 250-yard passing, 2 TDs for the mustache himself in Gardner Minshew.
Yeah,
the guy who wanted to get out of his van for a while. I like that guy as my quarterback.
Exactly.
I agree with you.
I very well do. Based on the way that Carolina's looking now, maybe they can win a game now that Andy Dalton's in. But based on the way that they're looking now, I don't see them winning a game the entire season. But
I agree with you.
Yeah.
Let's go into my second lock of the week. Let's go with Tampa Bay over Denver. Denver has looked absolutely piss poor in its offense so far. I have Tampa Bay winning this one handedly. They're favored in this one. Do you agree with me? Disagree with me? Do you think Denver's going to get a little bit better this week? Do you think they're actually going to push the ball downfield, or do you think Bo Nix needs a couple weeks?
I definitely agree with you. They've looked absolutely terrible. And it's going to continue looking terrible for them as long as they can get things rolling. But they don't really got big weapons. That's what they're lacking on that offense. We'll move into my next one. I am picking Buffalo over Jacksonville. James Cook really rushed great last week. Buffalo, we counted them out. They lost to Fine Diggs at the beginning of the season. But as for Jacksonville, if you're going to prove to be a playoff team, you need to get your stuff rolling like now because they are 0-2. And especially in the division they're in, you can't lose more games like we were saying earlier.
I agree with that pick. Buffalo's looking very, very dangerous, and I think their idea of running the ball first and then using Josh Allen in the pass game, I think it's working out very, very well. I think Duval needs to get out to a good start in this one if they want to hold on to it. But they're looking very inconsistent right now, Jaguars. There's a lot of questions with Trevor Lawrence in this one. But I do agree with you. I like Buffalo over Duval. Let's go with your steal first.
All right.
Who are you choosing as the underdog? Technically, these guys are the underdogs, so I'll give it to you.
Our qualifications for a steal where the team can't be favored. But we were looking at this game, and it's like this. So it's Detroit and Arizona, but Detroit is favored like 50.1%, and then Arizona's like...
Here's the predictability. According to ESPN Analytics, Detroit's 49.9% favored to win this game. Arizona is 49.7%, so it classifies as an underdog technically. But
yeah, the over-under on this game is set for 51 too, so it's gonna be a high caliber scoring game. Detroit is actually favored in the betting odds. So I'm gonna take Arizona here. Like you were saying, technically they're the underdogs, so I'm going to take them. Arizona is my steal of the week. To keep this interesting, we'll start keeping track of our points. If our locks get a win, it's 1 point. If our steals get a win, it'll be 3 points.
3 points. We're doing 3 points.
Yeah. So you're
picking like a team that's 0.2% chance to win.
We'll do 2 points. That'll make it fair. All right. You say your steal. I want to hear what you got.
And you're allowed to pick as many steals as possible during the week, but if you get them wrong, you lose the points for both your steals. You don't win. You don't get a point.
Okay.
If you lose, so you could pick as many steals as you can. If you get them correct, you get 4 points because if you pick, say you pick 2 games, you get 4 points. But if you pick 2 games and one of them wins, one of them loses, you don't get any of the steal points.
Okay. I'm gonna keep it safe this week and keep Arizona of Detroit. I'm not going ballsy.
Your little win there. That's a little. I'm gonna go with an actual pick.
Yeah.
Give me the Vikings over the Texans this week after their big win. They plan many men in the locker room.
Yeah.
Vibing out at the end of the game. Justin Jefferson's gonna get back. He's gonna play. I know they're banged up, but man, Sam Darnold looked pretty good, and I think they'll get a win over the Texans this week. Give me them as a steal this week, and I think that wraps up our episode for the Anytime Sports Podcast Show. If you'd like and subscribe, if you like the video, please like it and subscribe. I know you hear it all the time. I'm going to say happy birthday to my dad. It's his birthday today, so I'm going to shout him out right now. I know it won't get out in time, but happy birthday to him as well. Andrew, you sign it off for us.
Yes. Happy birthday. Let's keep this rolling. We love being back. Love making episodes. Hopefully you guys love it. Hopefully our quality was a little better this week. Hopefully we didn't drag it on too long. We like incorporating new stuff and everything. But everybody enjoy some football. May your fantasy teams ball out. A very interesting week
against me.
With all these injuries, may your fantasy teams do good. Everybody get wins. We'll be back next week. We'll see you guys later.
We ain't done yet. Oh, no, we just begun. I like those colors, yeah.